Well, Eddie, first of all, let's address the situation with Dillian Whyte in terms of the latest news in that the WBC have suspended him temporarily as interim champion. What are your thoughts on that?
A strange move, really. I mean, firstly, the WBC follow VADA, effectively, in their codes, of which Dillian Whyte paid, I think, $30,000 to be fully VADA tested for that fight and passed every test. So that's strange. At the moment, the facts that we do know is that he was cleared to box by the National Anti-Doping Panel and UKAD and the British Boxing Board of Control. So he's not suspended by them. So why should the WBC suspend him? Don't know. Agenda, pressure. We'll see. I think all this stuff's going to come out. Again, I keep being told to keep my big mouth shut until the facts come out. And Dillian Whyte right now is in the process of clearing his name. So Dillian Whyte could fight Saturday if he wanted to. I mean, he's not suspended. He's cleared to box. But the WBC obviously think differently. It took 600 days for him to become mandatory. It was a big struggle. So they moved very fast to make sure that he's suspended without actually getting any facts other than some facts written in online stories.
Does it surprise you from the WBC when you consider some of the things that they've done in the past? They've hardly been a model of consistency at times, have they?
No, and I don't think they've been fair to Dillian Whyte from start to finish. I mean, the whole situation's a nightmare, you know, whatever way you look at it. And Dillian Whyte now is working to make sure that his name is cleared. Like I said, right now, he's not suspended by anyone, not UKAD, not the British Boxing Board of Control. He's clear to fight, and he was clear to fight when he took part in the bout with Oscar Rivas. So why he should be suspended by the WBC without any information is beyond me. But, you know, you are quite right. You know, he was treated unfairly by them for many years, and I don't know. Agendas, I don't know, but you know, it's a bad situation all round. And like I said, Dillian Whyte and his team will be working to what he has to do now: clear his name and make sure he convinces everybody who thinks he's guilty that he's not. And you know, we live in an age where you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Right now, I think he's guilty until proven innocent. So that's his job, to make sure that, you know, effectively he's fighting for his career right now.
And where are we at in terms of that process?
That process, to be honest, is handled now by Dillian Whyte and his lawyers. Since the fight, I've not heard from UKAD or the board. Dillian Whyte is dealing with that. His legal team is dealing with that to make sure that effectively the truth comes out and that his name is cleared. We have a complete strict policy in terms of my beliefs in the sport that anyone that's knowingly cheating should be banned from the sport. And Dillian Whyte, in my opinion, and that's knowing him, that's knowing the pressure that he puts under me to make sure that all this testing is in place, it doesn't quite add up for me. And of course, we keep going back to the point that there was an independent hearing and he was cleared to box after providing evidence. Ask yourself why. Why was that? Maybe there's a chance that the evidence that was provided was sufficient enough to prove that he may just be innocent. So give him a chance to prove that. Let the facts come out, rather than just reading reports and panels. Everything will come out in a wash, and you'll get your chance to judge. But right now, he's clear to box. He's not suspended. His licence is in full tact with the British Boxing Board of Control. So we will see what happens over the next few weeks.
It's probably no surprise that so many people have come out in judgment, as you would expect, particularly with social media. A lot of people complaining about the fact that the result of the first test was known before the fight. Understandable argument, I guess, but is it a case of maybe that we're in a stage where the process itself perhaps needs some changes?
Yeah, I think from our point of view, we followed an absolute spot-on protocol from start to finish. It's a complete disaster that we were alerted couple of days before the fight for a test that took place a month earlier. I think that in itself isn't great, because how do you keep a tab on these tests that are being taken and when they were taken? We were asked to produce evidence, or Dillian was asked to produce evidence at a hearing, which he did. So we followed that exact protocol. The timing when this all came out was horrendous, and again, people might not think so at the time, but horrendous for Dillian Whyte. You know, he found this out on Thursday night. He didn't sleep till he got in the ring and until he went to bed that night, because it looked like the fight may not even take place. So he had the hearing, he was cleared to fight, and I would just let the rest of the facts come out. I don't know if the system is flawed. I think the bigger problem we have is there's too many agencies. You know, you've got VADA testing. VADA do a great job. We pay them a lot of money. Fighters that we represent pay them a lot of money. They report the news to a circle of people, but they don't sanction, they don't suspend people. And that's a problem when you look at like the Jarrell Miller incident, where he failed 3 drug tests for 3 separate substances, not banned by anybody. UKAD, at least they ban, but they do have a confidentiality code that is part of their process and part of their rules that the board abide by as well. So I don't think anybody's process is correct. And I would prefer a universal blanket where all the commissions around the world had a strict policy to say, no, if this happens, this is the result. Unfortunately, the British Boxing Board of Control follow UKAD's rules. The WBC follow VADA's rules. The independent commissions in America don't really follow any rules. I mean, all these fights taking part in America, there is no testing by the commissions. You talk about these fights taking part, the Dillian Whyte Rivas fight, these guys were tested, I don't know, a dozen times in camp. Dillian Whyte particularly by VADA and by UKAD. So I feel like the board do a good job in that respect. They're one of the few independent commissions that actually have a random testing program in place. And it frightens me in America where there is just zero testing at all, unless you're paying the 30, 40,000, whatever it is, dollars to test in an individual fight. That's the cost. So it's a difficult one, but it's not. You know, it's been a rough week for the sport of boxing, and now Dillian's got to go away. He's got to make sure that he clears his name, and he'll be doing that with his team. And then he's got to, you know, let everybody know about that. And hopefully, if he is innocent, you give him the break that he will deserve in that fact.